Can you see my video?
Yes. Om Shri Sairam. Warm welcome to all as we embark on day 8 of our divine journey through the sacred literature Sathyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Let us begin this blessed session by invoking Swami's presence with 3 Oms followed by Gayatri Mantra. Om. 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 ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Sairam Sister Nirsa, you can start from here. Sister, you're on mute.
It is mentioned by Himat Pant that Shirdi Baba, the famous doctor of doctors, cared not for his interests and always worked for the good and welfare of others. Himself suffering from unbearable and terrible pain many a time in the process. This is true even in this manifestation of Shirdi Baba, for Satya Sai Baba has taken upon himself and suffered mumps, typhoid, fever, delivery pains, and the scalding burns of his devotees. My ear began to bleed profusely all of a sudden, and it gave me pain. I suffered much for a day, but the pain and bleeding subsided miraculously, wrote a doctor from near Madurai. The letter reached me just when Baba himself was free from a slightly bleeding ear and some earache, which he had announced as having been taken over by him from a bhakta who was suffering the agony. It was on 21st June 1959 that Baba's temperature suddenly shot up to 104.5 degrees at about 1:30 p.m. But the alarm of the devotees was considerably reduced when 5 minutes later, the thermometer registered a fall and indicated 99 degrees. No one knew the reason for this sudden rise and this equally sudden fall till about 9:30 p.m. that day. During dinner that night, seated on the terrace in the moonlight, Baba asked a young man from Madras, who was also dining with him, "When you go to your mother tomorrow, tell her that she should be more careful about fire. Assure her that Baba is always with her and that she would never come to harm." This naturally aroused the curiosity and the anxiety of all, And when Baba said that the lady's sari had caught fire that noon while she was praying, standing in the shrine room of her house with a number of oil lamps on the floor, someone got the idea of putting through a trunk cord. It was done. The lady came to the phone and gave further details of the accident. When Baba spoke to her, her first query was whether his hands were burnt in the process of putting out the flames, as she knew of such instances of his mercy. Baba answered, "Oh no, I did not burn my hands. I had just an increase of temperature for a short while." So that was the cause of the sudden rise and the sudden fall. Contact with flames in the shrine room of a house in Madras, 222 miles away. Shirdi Baba once had his arms scorched while saving a child from fire. The accident happened miles away. Shirdi Sai Baba said, "The child slipped into the furnace and I saved the child. I do not mind my arm being burned, but I am glad that the life of the child was saved." The Leelas are the same in both the manifestations. The Satcharita gives many cases of illness which were cured by Shirdi Baba by a mere command like, "You should not purge anymore. The vomiting must stop. Your diarrhea was stopped. Do not climb up or snake poison, etc." Here again, Satya Sai Baba continues the same miracle and cures diseases, however long standing, by his sankalpa only. An old merchant from Kupam given up as dad was kept for 2 days because Baba did not give word to proceed with the disposal of the body. On the third day, Baba ordered him to get up, and he obeyed. There was a young man from Salem who was suffering from acute diarrhea, and Baba commanded him not to purge any more, and the purging stopped. Then there is the case of a young girl whose eyesight was so bad that she had to walk about her house holding the wall with one hand. She could not bear the sunlight. It burned her eyes and gave her agonizing headache. She had to be indoors most of the day in a darkened room. She had finished the round of all the renowned optical experts in Mysore, Madras, and Bombay. She spent her days at Puttaparthi in prayer and meditation. At last, one day, Baba said she could go to her house and that it would be all right with her eyes. If, however, there was any trouble, use this medicine. A few drops would do, he said, giving her a bottle of eye drops, which he materialized by a wave of the hand. She went home and she could not believe it. Her eyes were perfect in every way. He had commanded so, and the command was obeyed by her optical system. When the Sai Satcharita says of Shirdi Baba is true, word for word, in the case of the present appearance also. He became famous as a Hakim without any juice or medicine being put in the eyes. Some blind men got back their eyesight. The Satcharita says that Shirdi Baba used to say, "I am the mother, the origin of all beings, the harmony of three gunas, the propeller of all scenes, the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer." His firm conviction was that he was the Lord Vasudeva. Many times, Baba has also announced that he has come down to save the world and that he is the Lord himself. The present writer got the first glimpse of this profoundly true declaration about 9 years ago. Death had taken away the previous night the husband of Venkamma, the sister of Baba. He was also the younger brother of Ishwarama, the mother. The death was sudden, and the entire family, in fact, the entire village, was sunk in grief. I reached Puttaparthi unaware of the calamity a few hours after the burial. I found Baba seated on the low wall at the northern side of the front portico, facing the road that leads into Prasanthi Nilayam. The bereaved sister was wailing pathetically from inside one of the anguish. I walked up slowly In front of Baba, the father, the mother, the sister, the brothers, and others, all plunged in inconsolable anguish. I walked up slowly towards Baba, and tears gathered in my eyes as I saw the gloom. Baba greeted me with a smile and chiding me with a chuckle said, "What, Kasturi, if there is no death and no birth, how can I spend my time?" I heard those words, the authentic words of an avatar. His way of spending time, his Leela, the Sutradhara, the creator, the preserver, the destroyer, the Lord himself. I cannot afford to forget or ignore that declaration, that smile, and that chuckle. Samshyatma Vinashyati. The Lord has warned us long ago. Shirdi Baba had control over the elements too. Once there was an imminent fear of a terrible storm. The sky was overcast, the rains fell, and the waters flooded the streets. The panic stricken villagers ran to Baba for help, and Baba told the storm, "Stop your fury and be calm." And all was calm at Shirdi. This account is given in the Satcharita. He also once commanded a fire to step down and be calm, and it obeyed instantly. Many such instances are stored in the memory of the devotees of Sai Baba too, for this, but is a continuation of the same divine Leela. Take the instance of the downpour held back, writer Sri Chala Apparao. It occurred when he was taken in procession on the night of Vijayadashmi. He sat in a gaily decorated chariot. By the time the procession started, the sky was dark and heavy with storm clouds. There was deafening thunder and flashes of lightning. Truly a wonderful spectacle. It took more than 3 hours for the procession to return to the mandir. Still, there was no rain. Baba descended from the chariot and went upstairs, and every one of us returned to our lodgings. Then it started to rain. In fact, poured and poured. Who else can it be, if not God Himself, that can hold back the downpour for so long? It, it was on a cloudy June evening that Baba was addressing an open air meeting at Merkara. The sky was overcast and gloomy rumblings of approaching rain could be heard, not far away. In fact, the rain poured on the hills on the horizon, stepped nearer and nearer, and came as far as Mahadevpat, half a mile away. Baba spoke quietly and calmly, holding the audience spellbound. For over an hour and a half, at the end, he said, "Now you can go home, for in about 10 minutes you will get the rain that ought to have drenched you by now." And wonder of wonders, the rains came as announced 10 minutes later, to the very second. The Chitravati river at Puttaparthi is subject to sudden floods, for it rises in the Nandi Hills, and heavy rains in that region in Mysore state will bring down the waters many feet deep all along the miles. The Prasanthi Nilayam was built on an eminence away from the village to avoid these periodical floods, which in some years invaded the old mandir, entering the prayer shed, the kitchens, and all the surrounding area. On many such occasions, Baba has stood on the edge of the water and said, "Ganga, 'tis enough, go back," and the waters have not risen any more. Some years ago, during Navratri, when the feeding of the poor was on, it rained all around the Nilayam, but not a drop fell in the precincts where people were being fed. 2 years ago, Baba was in the East Godavari district, having crossed over to Rajamundry by the very last boat that was permitted by the police to brave the turbid currents of the flooded river. It was wet and slushy everywhere, with a cold wind bringing down the drizzle. Almost all the 24 hours. At Mirthipadu, about 10 miles from Rajmundari, Baba addressed a meeting of the villagers from the open terrace of a bungalow. One could see all around the broad sheets of water formed by the swelling Godavari and the curtain of rain, advancing from all directions towards Mirthipal. But the rain could not penetrate the unseen umbrella over the village and disturb the meeting, which went on unconcerned, well into the night. It was Baba again, who willed that the rain shall not advance. Let us revert to the Sai Satcharita. Baba cured Bhimaji Patel by means of two dreams. Page 74. He gave instructions to many persons in dreams. To one addicted to drink, he appeared in dream, and in the dream, he sat on his chest and pressed him until he promised not to touch liquor again. To some, he explained mantras like Guru Brahma in dreams. Page 104. In this body also, Baba has operated on many suffering patients during their dreams. Tirumala Rao of Bangalore had such an experience, and when he woke, the bed was soaked in blood and the pain had gone. What he dreamt had actually come to pass. Baba, the surgeon, had blessed him. Dreams form a very important means of communication between Baba and his bhaktas. Baba decides to warn, teach, instruct, treat, or operate during a dream of the bhakta, which he himself designs and times, and his sankalpa is realized. Satya Sai Baba has initiated a number of devotees with mantra during dreams, wherein he has granted his darshan and communicated the sacred formula to the deserving aspirant, and later, when they have come to Puttaparthi, he has told them about the processes of japa and the conditions for successful spiritual practice. Just as Shri Baba sat on the chest of the drunkard and forced him to promise not to touch liquor again in a dream experience of course, Baba too has beaten an intransigent son-in-law of one of his bhaktas while he was sleeping in a moving train alone in a first-class compartment. The man jumped out of the train as soon as it halted at a wayside station, and the crowd that collected could see the finger mark on both the cheeks. An insane patient at the hospital, Puttaparthi, was also beaten in absentia by Baba, and the doctors around his bed witnessed the fellow yelling at every blow and shouting that he would behave better and praying to Baba to stop beating him, all the while wondering at Baba's mysterious way of curing the patient of his foul vocabulary. After this treatment and the suffering of actual physical pain, the fellow gave up his rough behavior and sung always bhajan songs. So here too one can see the continuity, the identity. Later, on page 167 of the Satcharita is given the case of a Punjabi boy who saw Baba in a dream and heard Baba commanding him to come to Shirdi. He did not know who Baba was and where Shirdi was, but luckily he came across a picture of Baba in a shop and so could, after many an adventure, arrived at Shirdi. Many instances of exactly the same nature come to mind concerning this avatar also. The principal of a college in South India was surprised when his son, afflicted with some dire heart trouble, said one day that he had dreamt of a place called Puttaparthi where he could be cured. He made inquiries, consulted the railway timetables of all the zones, got a copy of the post office directory, and was surprised to find that Puttaparthi was a village that existed, for it contained a post office. Further inquiries gave him the precious news that Sri Satya Sai Baba was there and that he could, by his mere will, cure all afflictions. How Baba called that great devotee of Sri Tyagaraj Swami, Bangalore Nagaratnama, to himself is an interesting story. In 1951, the Raja of Venkatagiri was surprised to receive a letter from her. The letter ran as follows: Mahaprabhu, my Isht Devata, Sri Tyagaraja gave me darshan bhagyam in a dream and commanded me to go to Venkatagiri in order to be blessed by the darshan of Bhagavan, who has come to Bhuloka and who is soon reaching Venkatagiri in his Sancharan. My Lord told me that Bhagavan has assumed the name of Shri Satya Sai. I shall come to Venkatagiri as soon as I hear from you. It was the Utsav of Krishna Jayanti when she met Baba in answer to this command. Baba gave her the chance to sing Tyagaraja Kritis for full 2 hours in his presence. He also blessed her with an image of Sri Rama, which he materialized for her. After the receipt of that image, she was in ecstatic unconsciousness for over 24 hours. She was happy that Baba granted her 2 boons, a peaceful end and a remembrance of Ramanam till the very last moment of her life. Hundreds of people come to Puttaparthi drawn by such a mysterious intimations. For example, there is the case of Sukumar Menon, who was called by phone by Baba's voice to meet him, a call not noticed anywhere along the line, a call that rang in his room when Baba was actually at Bangalore in the midst of a Grey Parvesham function. Sukumar Menon wrote to me about the mysterious ring and the conversation he had with Baba. When this was mentioned to Baba, he said, "You know this now because he wrote about it. But remember, this is only a millionth part of my Leela." In fact, what is mentioned on page 68 of Sai Satcharita can be taken as a correct account of what happens today at Puttaparthi. The devotees could never approach him unless he meant to receive them. Nobody could go there of his own accord. Nobody could stay there long if he so wished. They could stay there only so long as Baba wished them to stay. They had to leave the place when allowed to do so by Baba. Once, when a long line of bullock carts approached Puttaparthi from Bukkapatnam, bringing visitors from various places, Baba sang jubilantly. Aya hai Baba ji ka karwan, I said. People who come here go and tell their neighbors and friends and relatives, and so the number increases. Baba turned towards me and remarked, "No, no one can come to me without my calling him, even if 100 people persuade or drag or push. Everyone who comes to Puttaparthi leaves with the prayer, 'Help me to come again. Kindly get me once again to this place,' for they know that without his express wish, no one can fulfill the pilgrimage. And when he says, 'Stay,' they stay, whether they have leave at the office or not. When he says, 'Don't go,' they don't. When he says, 'Leave,' they leave, however unwillingly. For, as the devotees at Shirdi experienced, when they do scrupulously follow Sai Baba's orders, some urgent work will be awaiting them when they reach their place. It is not necessary to multiply such instances of identity, of attitude, style, advice, behavior, and Leela between the two manifestations. Devotees of Satya Sai Baba have heard him and assure them, "Why fear when I am here? You look to me and I look to you. All your sins are forgiven the moment you get my darshan. I shall carry all your burdens. Take as much ananda as you can from me and leave with me all your sorrows." Assurances which were given to many fortunate souls in identical terms by Shirdi Sai Baba, as contemporary records testify. I do not need any paraphernalia for worship, either eightfold or 16-fold. I rest there where there is full devotion. My Sirkar's treasury is always full, it is overflowing. I say, dig out and take his wealth in cartloads. This chance won't come again. Let there be no insistence on establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute others' opinions, Nothing will harm him who turns his attention towards me. Avoid the company of atheists, irreligious, and wicked people. Be meek and humble towards all. See me in all beings. All the insects, ants, the visible, movable, and immovable world is my body and form. My treasury is full, and I can give anyone what he wants. But I have to see whether he is qualified to receive what I give. Look at me wholeheartedly, and I, in turn, will look at you similarly. To get realization of the self, dhyana is necessary. If you practice it continuously, the vrittis will be pacified. Give water to the thirsty, bread to the hungry, and your veranda to strangers for sitting and resting. If you are inclined to give, give. If you are not inclined to give, do not give, but do not bark like a dog. I require no door to enter. I always live everywhere. Fondness for things or attachment ill becomes an ochre garb. The quest for God should not be made on an empty belly. Leaving out your pride and egoism, surrender yourself to me who am seated in your heart. These expressions taken from the book Sai Satcharita can be heard emanating from Satya Sai Baba every day during his conversation with devotees, for the mission and the master are the same. Again, the Satcharita says that Shirdi Baba wanted someone to throw aside blind belief in horoscopes and predictions of astrologers and palmists, for it weakens man. Satya Sai Baba also has advised similarly. In fact, there is the instance of a Vaishya gentleman from the old state of Hyderabad who dreamt that Baba asked him to extend his palm, and with the sharp pointed knife, Baba drew a line on his palm, the Bhagya Rekha, as he discovered next day. To his delight and dismay, for one who can draw a new line on the palm, of what concern is palmistry? For one who can change the courses of the stars, of what value is astrology? No wonder that Baba and his decreased man's stupid faith in these absurdities to the exclusion of the maker of one's destiny, Baba himself. Other statements in the Satcharita, like all people troubled him with bringing costly, unnecessary, and useless articles. All the paraphernalia of Shirdi Samasthan was brought by various rich devotees at the instance or suggestion of some others. Baba never liked people to run into debt for taking his darshan or celebrating any holy day or going on any pilgrimage. Baba anticipated and forestalled the calamities of his devotees and warded them off in time. Baba respected the feelings of his devotees and allowed them to worship him as they liked. Baba was extremely forgiving, never irritable, straight, soft, tolerant, and content beyond comparison. Baba read and understood all the thoughts of his bhaktas. He suppressed the evil thoughts and encouraged the good ones. All these are applicable in full measure to Sri Satya Sai Baba too. The Sai Satcharita says, Sai Baba knew well all yogic practices. Swami Amritananda, a companion of Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi during his austerities, acknowledged that Satya Sai Baba knew yogic science more than anyone he had come across, because he elaborated to Swami the faults committed during their yogic exercises years before Baba took birth at Puttaparthi, which resulted in both of them becoming afflicted with asthma of a chronic type. Recently, Baba gave some very practical lessons in yoga to a young Frenchman who had taken enthusiastically to the practice of Hatha Yoga through a study of mere books. Many cases of misdirected practice of yoga came to him every year for treatment and correction. The following sentence from the Sai Satcharita could as well have been written about the present avatar. To him, all duties are alike. He knows neither honor nor dishonor. Satya Sai Baba too attends to the smallest details of the lowliest rank task at Prasanthi Nilayam. He sits on the floor, sleeps on a mat, does not hesitate to walk in sun or rain, climbs the snow clad Himalayas on bare feet, gets a sizable crowd into his car in spite of the crush and the length of the journey, goes long distances without food or drink, and prefers the dishes of the poor, because, as he says, no one should be put to extra expense and trouble on my account. The book says of the previous avatar, Baba read his heart and spoke it out. Baba had already received a wireless message. Baba converted by his touch raisins with seeds into seedless raisins. Baba gave instructions to his devotees in both spiritual and temporal matters. Baba saw no difference between caste, and even beings and beings. Baba always loved those who studied Brahma Vidya and he always encouraged them. Baba
Um,
hated scandal mongering and spoke of it as equal to gorging dung.
Thank you, Sister Nirza, for the beautiful rendition. Sister Ratna, you can continue from here. Thank you, Sairam.
Saira. Baba insisted that remuneration for labor must be paid promptly and to the satisfaction of the worker. Every one of these appear to those who have met, heard, and followed Satya Sai Baba as his own statement and as representing his own advice and attitude. In 1958, when he was examined on commission, Satya Sai Baba referred to a similar incident in his previous birth and gave the example same replies. When asked for his name, he said he answered to any. He said that everything was his, that he lived everywhere, and by these replies he made the Pandits of laws, the Sastras, describe him as inscrutable. Though for adepts in spiritual law, it was clear as crystal that those were the unmistakable utterances of an avatar. The truth of the matter is that in the same presence come again, Satya Sai Baba once said that this Sri Ram was born in Palti while the previous one was born in Patri. In this birth also there was a Muslim who loved him and fondled him as a child. In this birth too, he drew people's attention to himself when a boy by disclosing the whereabouts of a lost horse at Uvarakunda, and that many more resemblances are to follow. Everyone will find in the present avatar the same motherly solicitude, the same simplicity of exposition, the same profundity of wisdom, the same universality of outlook, the same all conquering prema, the same omnipresent and the same omnipotence. Satya Sai Baba had said very often that he had been to Shirdi when he was in what may be called a trance. On one Purnami day, some 15 years ago, Baba was taking his noonday meals with young men from Madras at Puttaparthi. The person who was serving the dishes did not know that it was an auspicious day for Sai Bhaktas. Suddenly, Baba went on a journey, and during the unconscious period, he ordered serve him chapatis, serve him kheer, and mentioned some strange names of other sweets and eatables. When he returned, the lady tweeted him and said, "If you ask me to serve this young man item that I have not prepared, that I have not even heard about, what can I do?" Baba sympathized with her plight and said that he had been to Shirdi and the names he mentioned were of Marathi dishes. He then took a chapati as well as some slices of Marathi sweets and gave them to the young man. When he came back to Puttaparthi after the declaration, that is to say, as a little boy of 15, he took a fruit which no one at Puttaparthi had seen or tasted before. Peda Venkaparaju, sister, says that she asked Baba what type of fruit it was, and she got the reply that it came from Shirdi. Baba proposed to cut and distribute the pieces during the evening bhajan when she pleaded with Baba that each should get at least one full fruit so that the gift may be relished. So Baba asked her to give him a big-sized blanket with a cover. He even tapped the basket once, and the lady saw that the basket was full of them. In the evening, when bhajan started, she saw about 100 persons, and so she was again afraid that she would not get a whole fruit, for the basket could not contain more than 30 or 40. She told Baba how nervous she was, but Baba gave her from that basket one whole fruit to each of the 100-odd person after bhajan that day. And the fruit was so strange and so sweet. The same lady relates another miraculous incident. She was troubling Baba with a request to grant her some vision to instill faith in her heart, for she did not want to dismiss the story of the Sai avatars as an invention, an attitude that many in the family found it easy to assume. Baba had a liking for this particular lady because she was a simple soul steeped in suffering, so he told her, "I'll show you my precious body this evening." She confesses that she could not contain her joy and was praying for a shorter afternoon and quicker sunset. As soon as dusk fell, Baba led her across a number of doorways into one of the innermost rooms of the house, and on reaching the farthest, he took off his palm, which was all the while covering her eyes, and asked her to look at the corner, which he pointed out with his finger. The lady looked, and there sat Shri Sai Baba on the floor in his characteristic pose, but she says with eyes closed and vibhuti marks on the forehead and arms. The incense stick before him were burning, and the smoke was rising straight into the air. His body was glowing with a strange effulgence, and there was a beautiful fragrance around. After a minute or so, Baba asked her, "Have you seen?" And when she said, "Oh, how wonderful," he placed his palm once again firmly over her eyes and led her back into the outer room. Perhaps the vision vouchsafed to the two teachers who had written that book, Mrs. Kandapa and Subanachar, was also of the same time. They do not specify which in any detail in their book. Baba has often said that controversy over the point whether it is the same Baba in the meaningless or unnecessary for, as he says, whether two pieces of burfi, one square and other circular, one yellow or the other purple in color, unless one has eaten and realized the taste of both pieces, one cannot believe that both are the same. Tasting, experiencing, that is the crucial thing to know the identity. The rain cloud. The effect of his discourse is always as if Baba had all the while spoken to you alone. For within a minute or two, he grips your attention so that you forget you're one among thousands and you yield yourself to his diagnosis and his treatment. He's not an orator or evangelist or even a teacher. He's the rain cloud come to nourish the parched lives of everyone. Those who have had the good fortune of listening to a discourse by Baba at any public gathering will cherish the thrill and the inspiration of the experience for many and many a year. Nothing that they may listen to later will diminish the exhilaration of that occasion. Baba speaks generally in Telugu, though he converses with devotees in almost all languages: Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, Sindhi, English, etc. In fact, his omniscience finds expression in any medium. His diction and style are simple and direct, full of proverbs and parables and popular illustrations taken from the actual experience of the people in front of him, and so his words are engraved in the hearts of the listening. He refuses to name his discourses speeches, for they are never prepared in advance or delivered over the heads of people or directed to the masses. He prefers the word sambhashan, that in conversation. His way of probing into personal problems and answering individual doubts make the appellation very apt. The effect of his discourse is always as if Baba had all the while spoken to you alone, for within a minute or two he grips your attention so much that you forget you are one among thousands and you yield yourself to his diagnosis and his treatment. The face that enchants, the voice that endears, the smile that illuminates, the gesture that clarifies, all become your personal possession. His advice, his appeal are so intimate and imbued with love that your entire self is mortgaged to him by The time he finishes, he's not an orator or evangelist or even a teacher. He's the rain cloud come to nourish the parched lives of everyone. Baba used to declare when quite a boy that he will enter upon his desk the Upadesha in his 32nd year. Until that age, his discourse very only occasionally either put up a Nilayam itself during the Navratri celebration or Shivratri, or sometimes on the sign of the Chitravati when devotees assembled around him and sought his guidance, or rarely at the Satya Sai Baba District Board's High School, Bukapatnam, where he presided over functions like the school day. At the Nilayam or on the sands, the discourse was usually started off by a question posed by a bhakta on or some general problem affecting social conduct or spiritual endeavor. The reply given by Baba sheds light not only on the main question, but also on all related topics. A chance question on life and death once brought forth from Baba a very illuminating discourse on Salokya, Samipya, etc., and the Garuda Purana version of the journey of the disembodied soul, the inner significance of the funeral rites of the different communities, the existence of ghosts, and the chances of communicating with the dead, and even the custom of naming the grandchild after the grandfather. The questioner or others around him also prodded with further queries by Baba in order to make his exposition clear. Such discussion arises in quite informal ways at almost all places and times, for Baba is very gracious to impart the courage born of conviction. He is the educator par excellence. A few years ago, a few devotees had the chance of being with Baba at the Hosle Hills for about a week. Every day, both in the morning and in the evening, Baba sat in the midst of the bhaktas and posed before them a new problem of sadhana. He asked everyone to lay bare before him their spiritual practices, ideas. He asked them to reveal the name and form of the Godhead that appeared to each person, the scriptural texts that had the greatest influence in shaping their life, the picture that each one had formed in the ultimate reality, the goal of each one's sadhana. And by means of sympathetic analysis, he set everyone on the path. He utilizes every chance to pour light on dark corners of our hearts. This he has been doing even while a child. For what he not named the for was he not named the little guru, even by Kundamaraju, who liked him all the more for it. I remember the old man swelling with pride and joy when he sat listening to a discourse given by Baba in 1950, a few years before his passing away. Even as a child at school, he dissuaded his playmates from smoking bidis and cigarettes. He even discussed at Raja Sikh and Tama Sikh food generally. He warned his friends away from cinemas. He encouraged them all to sing songs in praise of God, to wear the holy vibhuti, and observe habits of personal cleanliness. While at school at Kamalapuram, he also composed some songs again in the evil of drink, the dangerous consequences of illiteracy, on the abject condition of the untouchables, and on the degradation of village factions. Years ago, he wrote a social play named Kala Marpu, The Change Time. This is a play containing a large number of songs in folk tune depicting the tricks to which the necessity to catch people's attention drives the seekers of power. It depicts the piteous plight of a great poet and seer whose warnings go unheeded. He is neglected by everyone except the poor riot. His children become destitute. Men of straw take vengeance upon them for the words of wisdom that their father dared utter. But times change. The children win power and reestablish the golden age, when the immortal words of the poet are sung again and put into practice. Even when quite a boy, Baba was entreated by actors in village plays to write out dialogues for their roles, and Whenever he took a role, he composed songs and speeches for himself. Invariably, those compositions breathed a high moral note and stood out above the rest of the drama, attracting attention by superior style, diction, and appeal. He had written also plays on Parikshit and Markandeya, both revealing new faces of truth. The role of the teacher is, of course, fundamental to the Sai avatar. I never utter a word of no significance or a deed of no beneficial consequence, he declared once. Even the most casual remark that he might make will be filled with upadesh. Addressing a lady who was struggling to keep her child quiet, he said, "See, sitting astride your hip, it cries, Amma, Amma," not realizing that Amma herself is holding it in her lap. That is what everyone here is doing. They do not know that the Lord is the mother who is clapping them. They simply cry, Amma, Amma. Sing the item welcome speech in the program of a meeting. He addressed, he said, I'm in you, and so you need not welcome me. I shall not come because you call or go because you deny. He's always and everywhere the Sadguru, the friend, philosopher, and guide. He slowly and steadily molds the character and outlook of everyone who offers him for his guidance, who offers himself for his guidance, or whom he selects for such training. When at Prashanti Nilayam or elsewhere, someone is reciting, explaining the Gita, or the Ramayana, or the Bhagavata, or the Upanishad, he watches the audience for a while and, taking his cue from a word or a phrase, explains to the delight of the learned and the unlearned alike the obscurity which worries them. In this way, he was unraveled many a mystery of the sastras and sacred scriptures, the bhakti of the yogas, of the gopis, the challenge of Vali, the abduction of Sita, the character of Ramana, the nature of Durvasa, the role of Narada, the maneuvers of Krishna, the meaning of avatar, the significance of the Shraddha ceremony, and many such topics have been, as I know, illuminated by Baba's omniscience. In the discourses that Baba gives at Prashanti Nilayam during Dasara or on Shivratri or on his birthday, he often treats of highly philosophical subjects. For us, he said once, you are all no longer young. You must go from one lower class to the next higher one. But by means of stories and parables, proverbs, and metaphors, he makes even the toughest philosophical ideas like Maya or Karma or Adhyasa or Vasana or Samskara or Samsara or Nirguna or Saguna as plain as the berry in the palm. Once he spoke on the Katakina and the Mundaka Upanishad on three successive days, given every lucid analysis of the dialectics of each. Of course, he ends up every talk emphasizing the practical step of sadhana, bringing the discourse known as the very brass tackle of daily routine and conduct. Another Dasara he spoke on Karma Marga, Jnana Marga, and Bhakti Marga on 3 successive days, ending the series on the note of Karma Marga leads to intensification of Bhakti, and Bhakti Marga leads ultimately to Jnana. Or he takes the theme on which someone had spoken already in his presence that evening and amplifies it to the satisfaction of the thousands listening to him. I remember one day he took up the topic of satsang and described how it gradually leads men on to nisanga, that is to say, how the companionship of the good leads one to the giving up of attachment itself. Another day his subject was paropakara and the way intelligent person should do it. For someone had spoken earlier of social service, one evening he spoke of the Trinity and the function of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. For the reference that day was to Dattatreya. On special occasions of the festivals like Vijayadashami, Shivratri, Uttarayanam, Guru Purnima, Purnami, etc., he gives discourses on the significance of those days and on the most profitable method of celebrating them. Manas is presided over the moon, and every month the moon gets almost worn out on the 14th night after the full moon. So the sadhaka, whose ambition should be to destroy the manas within all its whim, fancies, and vagaries, must try his utmost on that night to maximize his sadhana so that victory might be his. That night, or Ratri, has to be dedicated to Shiva, so to say. Shivratri comes every month, and there is a Mahashivratri every once a year to remind men of the purpose of his existence. Vijayadashami is the day of victory of the forces of goodness, of the pure self over the downward dragging vasanas and impulses. Uttarayanam is Uttamayanam, the dawn of the Deviyanam, the divine half year when the sun who presides over the buddhi or intellect of man is himself proceeding over the Daivi Marga. Swim with the current, Baba says. The sun himself is journeying northward towards the Kailasa of self-realization. This is the best time for spiritual initiation and sadhana. Guru Purnami for Baba is an occasion to remind his devotees and all aspirants to reverse the gurus and the wisdom they embody. He described the essential characteristic of gurus and give everyone the test by which he can distinguish the true from the false. Every discourse of Baba has a novelty of its own, a thrill and a joy which is its unique mark. He called his discourses Mandu Bhojanam in Telugu, as opposed to Vidu Bhojanam, which others are supplying. That is to say that he served is medicinal food, not festival food. Therefore, he appears to the listeners not to miss even a fragment of the meal or carelessly throw away even a morsel of a word. He is the great physician come to heal, and so no two discourses are similar in tone or content. He says, mine is not a lecture, it is a mixture. He has no one single prescription for all. Speaking to high school students at Chittoor, he gave detailed instructions regarding preparation of the examination and the systematic way in which the question paper has to be tackled in the hall. Mark all the questions which you feel you can successfully answer, finish answering them, and then tackle the rest. You will then be in a better and more confident mood, he said. He dealt on problems of the classroom and the football field with an intimacy that was quite remarkable. Presiding over the prize-giving ceremony of the district sports of Penukonda, he spoke on the emphasis wrongly placed on competition and on winning, pitting school against school and boy against boy. He then pointed out that the spirit in which victory or defeat is taken is much more important than the actual results of the events. At Madagaskar, on a similar occasion, he punned upon the word Bahumati, meaning both price and many-mindedness, and declared, I always distribute single-mindedness. I have never Bahumati or many-mindedness. He even asked the winners to thank the losers, for if only the loser had put in a little more effort, they might have won and deprived them of running away with the prizes. Inaugurating the girls' high school at Venkatagiri town, he dilated on the good habits that students should develop. Be ever careful about your books, for your parents have sacrificed much to get them to you. Do not quarrel with your brothers and sisters and make the home a nest of discontent. Do not envy classmates who are richer. Be content, do not show off. Speak the truth always, for falsehood is the result of cowardice. Get up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and after a wash, sit alone quietly and meditate. Go to sleep at 9 p.m. and therefore lying down, pray to the Lord. Tell Him to accept all that you have done during the day, for they have been done truthfully and dutifully. And ask Him to give you the strength to serve Him and His children, your brothers and sisters. In the morning, thank Him for the day dawning before you and ask that it may be given to you to spend it usefully for yourself and for others. Addressing the villages of Miltipadu near Rajamundry, Baba spoke to them on topics within their ken. By the sweat of your brow, you transfer dirt and dust into nourishing, relishing food for men and beasts. For a holy task in this, which you daily perform, I am very happy to be in your midst today. You bear innumerable troubles and toils and place firm reliance on your own self. You move about these green fields, wafted by the cool breeze beneath the blue sky. How nice it would be if, when you walk along the edges of those fields, you sing the glory of the Lord, who is immanent in all the beauty, all the plenty, and all this grandeur. Do not contaminate the atmosphere by words of anger against one another. Purify it by repeating the name of the Lord. So too at Budili village on the banks of the Chitravati spoke of the sweetness and purity of the riot's life and the village being the foundation of the culture of the country. There he dilated on the need of gratitude for benefits received, the dangers of faction, and the value of traditional religious rites like bhajan and temple worship. He said he had noticed that someone had dumped a broken bandy cot on the temple veranda, an act demonstrating disregard for the sacred precincts. He also exhorted the young men of the village to serve with all the intelligence and devotion. If it is a function connected with a hospital, Baba has valuable advice for the organizers as well as the gathering. At the Satya Sai Hospital, he once deplored that the doctors should, in their report, write about the progress achieved when actually the number of inpatients and outpatients had increased. He said he would be happy only when there is full health for everyone. This could be achieved mostly by the gaining of shanti, worry, greed, needless agitation, and anxiety. These cause even bodily diseases. Mental weakness is the biggest cause of disease. Disease is want of ease. The contented mind is the best drug. The body must be well looked after, since it is the boat which helps us to cross the sea of samsara. So it would not be weakened either by bad habits which sap the strength or by the overdoing of disciplines like fasting, etc. Learning yogic practices from book and practicing them with the aid of leaflet and chart is also a fertile source of illness, both physical and mental. Be good, be joyful, be bold, be honest, be temperate, be patient. These are the old rules of health. Suguna is the most valuable source of health. In many places, the bhaktas conduct regular bhajans on the pattern of the bhajan and at Prasanti Nilayam, and once a year on a selected day. They carry on the session for full 24 hours without interruption. On the conclusion of one of such Akhanda bhajans at Bungalow, Baba gave a discourse in which he pointed out that one's life must itself become an unbroken session of Akhanda bhajans. Of course, for devotees of Satya Sai Baba, the practice of the constant presence of the Lord is a comparatively easy sadhana, for by experience, they know that Baba is ever behind them, beside them, with them, and in them. Baba himself accosts each one of them with questions concerning aspects of their behavior or thinking, which they considered most secret, known only to themselves. Once, for example, when a student from Rajamundry told him that he had prepared single-mindedly for the examination, given up all other activities, but Baba turned on him with a question, "What? Did you not go one night to a dinner at the hostel and came home very late? Did you not go another day with some relative who had come from your village to the bazaar to purchase some clothes for them?" That day at the Khandam function, Baba said that one should try to discover why, in spite of the multiplicity of Sangams, Samaj, and societies organizing bhajans and religious discourses, there's no corresponding increase in the moral standard of the people. Bhajan had become a ritual, a routine, a rigmarole. What is spoken by the tongue is not practiced by the hands. There's no bhakti, no shraddha, no faith. By faith, Baba does not mean blind faith. As a matter of fact, Baba insisted on viveka as an essential requisite for spiritual progress. Follow the Sastaic discipline and test for yourself, he said. Come and stay at Prashanti Nilayam and move with me and experience my company in conversation and listen to me, watch me, and then form your conclusion. Get in and know the depth, eat and know the taste, is his advice. Sadhana is necessary to know God. Patient, sincere sadhana is if the spark of faith must go into ragging fire, build it up with cross blade, dry stick, and fagots. Slowly and carefully, take refuge occasionally in the depth of your own mind, in silence and in loneliness. At Trivandrum, Baba posed the question, how is it that in spite of the advance in education and literacy, the enthusiasm shown by parents, teachers, and children in imparting and acquiring learning, people have no peace of mind? He then spoke on the manners as having the double nature of wind, the wind that gathers the rain clouds and scatters the clouds beyond the horizon. He detailed upon the means and methods of controlling the vagaries of the mind. He says, I refuse to call anyone an atheist or an unbeliever, for all creation of the Lord of and repositories of his grace, or repositories of his grace. In everyone's heart, there is a spring of love, a rock of truth. That love is God. Divinity is there in the depth of everyone's inner being. By systematic and continuous boring and the uninterrupted dig of Ram, 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 the spring can be touched and the waters of divinity made to gush forth. At Nasbet, Baba dwelt on the religious factions and partisanship rampant in the country. He said that the Lord is above and beyond all limits of caste and color, of wealth and poverty, that it is foolish to believe that the Lord asks for gifts or is angry when it is not offered. He warned his listening against sannyasins who go about with list of donors and subscribers, gurus who have an eye on your purse, and munis who keep the vow of silence by resorting to all other means of communication except the easy, natural, and convenient way of talking. At Arkonam, when the Secretary of the Divine Life Society read in his report that those who paid an annual fee of 4 annas could become members, Baba said that he would allow anyone who had not 4 annas but 4 gunas, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, to become members of the Society of Divine Life.
Thank you, Sister Ratna. We will continue here. A heartfelt thank you to our dear sisters, Nirsa and Ratna, for their beautiful rendition today. Let us conclude this sacred session with Sai Gayatri and Samastaloka. Om साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः